Hi, I'm Bryan Mullins the Fox. Now, before I get into who we're dealing with in this commentary banger, I want to make things clear. Number one, I used to kind of respect the man, so this is a video demonstrating why I don't anymore. Number two, it's not going to be a slander piece, because what's the point in doing that if being as accurate as possible is the better option? And finally, number three, the reason why Rosa Ray Ramsey is not mentioned on this list of names in the thumbnail of this video is because he did not make her mistake. She did. And I will get to that eventually in this video. Alright? Are you people ready? Yeah? Alright then, let's go!
It took you days to remove a child predator when you knew
I think it was like...
It took you days?
Probably.
Days? It should have taken you
like
5 goddamn seconds!
LioConvoy, or also known as Thomas Guerra, is a Thundercats historian, quote-unquote predator hunter YouTuber, and pseudo-intellectual moron. His channel, at the time of scripting this, has roughly 16,000 subscribers, and it is growing. However, this is not supposed to be an autobiography on him, but a video documenting his history with predator hunters, bad takes, and just being a hypocrite, with being a massive manipulator on the side. Long before he made fun of another YouTuber named Kaz Warfox for making predator hunting a hobby right as Kaz himself announced he was quitting, Tom has a longer history of this being his hobby. Given that it's ironic to make predator hunting your main hobby whilst you have actual jobs in real life. So much for your 60-plus hour work week, Tom. Kaz started his predator hunting shtick sometime after Tom did. Let's start around the time when Toon Critic Y2K got exposed for being a predator in the My Little Pony community in 2018. Where he lambasted the community for supposedly refusing to proverbially clean house. This despite the fact that this predator hunter shit is somehow below him. Every community is full of degenerates, and even then I don't blame them. Kaz Warfox got around LioConvoy right at the time the whole Zoophile Police Twitter restructuring incident happened in 2020, despite the fact that Kaz started his channel in 2013, not 2018. When Lio started engaging in this hobby and got around to being friends with another predator hunter named Coyote Lovely, who got famous for dunking on zoophiles, zoo sadists, and predators. At that time, didn't know or wasn't responsible enough to realize for almost 5 years that Coyote was not a reliable friend. Coyote Lovely got exposed for not just flirting with the zoophile and sexting, but sending a zoo sadist to another zoophile in February of 2023, after the botched up on Sappho and Zercarlo. Lio was dealing with people like Buttons, Anthony, or also known as For No Good Reason, and Ichabod, during the situation surrounding Mintheart. Mintheart was a victim of sexual assault, and Lio was part of the group that set up a GoFundMe page to financially support her and get her out of that abusive household she got stuck in at the time. Mintheart was likely the first of many that Tom had to adopt because he was the one who had control over the funds of that GoFundMe page. He adopted more of these victims of sexual assault and other crimes, whilst he was falsely accused of being a pedo, a groomer, and an all-around fucking degenerate by people like Gilded Pooh, Vash Lancet, and Neora. Kaz Warfox then got conveniently exposed by Tom and the Senate, alongside with Frisky Doodle for saying that Peaches should be sexually assaulted by Lio. Kaz's dumbass story that sounds like an edgy OC's origin story. Vash Lancet for acting like a perpetual child over having to provide evidence against Lio, Gilded Pooh for bragging about having terabytes, in quotations, of zoo and scat porn, and Neora for making a terrible exposed document on him. It's also funny given that you are respected by the community you say you hate, the commentary community. Vlad and a bunch of others raided Queen Seraphina's Discord server, one with minors in it, whilst Lio's and Peaches were 18 plus at the time, and still are today, with zoo and scat porn before Gilded and a bunch of spurgs got exposed. Others like Peaches just a robot, and so on got around to him for videos about dramas that they made not so very well. Videos on Spectre, the guy who held onto the nudes of a then-to-be 13-year-old up until past his 18th birthday or something. The name's Junkie, and others. His quote-unquote predator hunting didn't always go to plan, however. A victim of Grizzly the Medic refused to report him for being predatory, and Grizzly himself only got fired from his job as a result of the exposure from LioConvoy and others anyway. Lio blows up on Coyote for fucking up many situations when it comes to dealing with zoophiles, zoo sadists, and pedophiles. He was also friends with Vita, who later turned out to be a predator himself. Lio also shows a pattern of him trusting a predator hunter or someone else he trusted, no matter how much evidence there is against them, or how much of a scumbag they truly turned out to be, until it's seemingly convenient not to anymore. If one is a one-off or freak occurrence, if two is just merely a coincidence, then three must be a pattern, right? Funny thing is, he's done this 5 times now, not including Rosa Ray Ramsey, because that was not his mistake to make. That was Rosa herself's mistake to make. Number 1, for no good reason when it came to the Stallion situation, which is also the reason why Tom and the Senate did their first accountability and responsibility stream. 2, Vita, or generally in the Vita situation, where he got exposed for being a predator himself. Number 3, Coyote Lovely, the Zercarlo and Hypnotist Sappho situations. 4, Kaz Warfox and his quote-unquote Fox Mafia for LARPing with Coyote, being ass-mad that Lio himself dealt with Coyote the way he did after being betrayed by him, etc. And finally, number 5, Frisky Doodle for being a victim of sexual assault herself, then going to say that Peaches should be SA'd by Lio. Why was it also convenient for all 5? Because they slighted him, literally or not. Doesn't matter. And now let's get on to the next chapter. Lio also has a history of calling people's parents and houses, regardless if he was provoked or not. He's done this to Bloodlord, also known as Freddy, because he not only threatened to rape Mintheart, but did a lot of other degenerate autistic things. But that was the only time Lio had the right to do that. In other potential scenarios, he usually acts like such a Karen because he always takes YouTube drama too goddamn seriously. Tom, at least, didn't do the same thing to Frisky Doodle by calling her house, now did he? Also, just block and report them. I don't call their fucking house over random internet drama. I've never spoken to any of them directly, even if they threaten me directly. Only if it's a fake threat and not a real one. But if it's a legit threat, report them to their local precinct, not the FBI, unless if they're making terroristic threats. And I swear to God, if Lio tries to call me, my father, or my house over this video right here, there will definitely be a follow-up video to this one. He also expects that children or minors will not be endangered or in danger to begin with, even though that's the point of his quote-unquote predator hunter hobby. He's dealt with people like Bunny-chan, Smash Bandicoot, Dan Alec Chai, Rosa Ray Ramsey, Rebecca Starlight, For No Good Reason, Vash Lancet, Kaz Warfox, Coyote Lovely, Zercarlo, Hypnotist Sappho, Gilded Pooh, Niora, etc. That's like a firefighter not expecting to see burning buildings to save from the destruction of a massive inferno, even though that's a part of his or her fucking job. But unlike being a predator hunter on the internet, being a firefighter is an actual job. I will show you a clip from a live stream Techno hosted in December of last year. By the way, I've also called Lio out for this obvious posturing in a recent video I premiered on the 20th of July.
4 days between finding out someone in your server is a child predator and removing them. Are you stupid? 4 days that person can continue to prey on children in your server. 4 days that idiot sits nice and comfy in a server full of children. 4 days. I don't care. I don't care about her taking down her server. What I care about is it took her days to take somebody she knew was a child predator away from her server that had kids in it. Don't you ever come to me telling me about how you care about children, you lying, disingenuous piece of garbage. You are 30 years old and you're pulling this nonsense. Not only should you be ashamed of yourself, your parents should be ashamed of raising you like this. They owe everyone a Gus Reader's an apology. And now you have the audacity to sit here and try to play pretend that you have any moral high ground to talk about Zaid being bigoted against China. And who knows how many people had bad arguments that he talked about in that video that were minors. You don't care about whether or not your feelings are hurt, you worthless, gutless cretin. Find God. He's the only one who can help you at this point. Go to church. Can somebody tell me why every single time I'm about to dunk on some idiot just for being stupid, there's always children that are put in danger? Why can't you retards just be stupid? Why can't you just be laughable goons? Why do you always put children in harm's way? I'm sorry for calling you retarded. I've met retarded people. They're very polite, very sweet, and they wouldn't pull these stunts. They're a lot smarter than you.
I didn't know that.
Go get your parents, because I know you live with them. Go get them.
I just don't know.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You dishonest, gutless weasel.
Please.
And then you have the audacity to sit here and try to moral post all over the internet about how Zaid's bad, and let's just say this, let's just say that. And then you come onto this stream with this poor man who has no idea about the depths of your depravity, because I don't either. You may excuse me for why you supported somebody who didn't report a predator. What is it with you idiots? Why can't I just laugh at a fool? Why can't I just mock a moron? Why is it you idiots always wind up putting children in danger? Why? Why can't I just have one night where I make fun of morons?
I did not know.
Bitch, what the fuck do you expect from them? Proverbially giving them candy without going anywhere near a white van? Now, this section won't be too long, but just a brief overview of his past mistakes and hot takes. Number 1, Lio assumes Keisuke was into the diaper fetish, only for him to talk it out with Keisuke, not just on Discord, but in his addendum video, and apologized for taking him out of context. Number 2, Lio and others went with Anthony's false accusations against Stallion, only to cut ties with Anthony and make the right corrections after that. Number 3, his stream with Coyote Lovely on the Antunes drama was actually bad. And finally, number 4, his dog shit takes on Shadiversity's video on AI art in his response stream. Recently, Lio responded to my comment in the comment section of Jar's recent Spectre video, and it goes, I understand the sentiment here. I don't take either of them seriously. For one thing, Tom now has a history of foolishly going along with predator hunters as if being one wasn't wrong enough to begin with, LARPing, Coyote flirting with a zoo, etc. He talks all big about checking up on your friends. He should have never been friends with them in the first place. Being a predator hunter has to involve either endangering a minor, using a decoy, one's at or above 18 years old, if one can't afford to get into trouble for that, and many other shady things. I just now oppose the idea of being a predator hunter, not because I'm pro-pedo or anything like that, but because I don't concern myself with issues that never involved me or anything that bad in general. Here's his now-to-be-deleted response.
Jack, you've been actively harassing Doodle Tones for over a year now, and constantly hang around with the worst of people. The reason you don't, quote-unquote, get me is because you're literally a child without the ability to think critically. As for you, Bryan,
quote, being a predator hunter has to involve either endangering a minor, using a decoy if one's at or above 18 years old, if one can't afford to get into trouble for that, and many other shady things.
What an unquestionably stupid thing to say. You 100% have no idea what you're going on about. Sit down and be quiet.
Oh, the irony! It's too much!
Here's my response to his now deleted comment. That's not an actual counter, old man. Nice try though, given that what I said in my comment is true. By the way, stop calling yourself a boomer. You're a millennial. All he does is try to shut down the conversation when it comes to criticisms against predator hunting and predator hunters, especially ones he dealt with in the past. Just childishly telling someone to sit down and shut up is not a counter-argument, you fucking idiot. And he knows he can't make a counter-argument against what I've said because it's true. I've made videos about predator hunters back in December, including the one talking about the legal ramifications when it comes to being one, or faking it. I am going to give you a bunch of reasons why it's actually hard, or if not impossible, to actually catch a predator, in quotations, and either not be one yourself or get charged for worse, endangering a minor or even a child and not doing anything about what might happen to that said minor or child in the first place. Number 1, you actually cannot use minors as decoys. It is actually illegal in the US, UK, Australia, to name a few countries, to use a minor, even if they're 16 or 17 years of age, as a decoy to try and quote-unquote catch a potential predator, because that's endangering a minor. Endangering a minor is considered either a misdemeanor or an outright felony in most states. It really depends on which state though, which is especially the reason why content creators on YouTube like Vita, LioConvoy, Queen Seraphina, Coyote Lovely, Kaz Warfox, and Ichabod are good examples on who and why not to endanger any minor on Discord or the internet. Let alone being the one having to needlessly put yourself through all this demeaning bullshit for views and likes. But not all of them are in the same camp. For example, LioConvoy, Coyote Lovely, Queen Seraphina, and Kaz Warfox are in the camp that intervenes and quote-unquote catches the low-hanging fruit predators or outright degenerates on Discord. They just found. And it's people like these quote-unquote decoys who constantly puts themselves through all of this without any justifiable reason why. I just can't understand for the life of me why. Why would you put yourself through all that shit? Why? Are you a masochist? Are you just a glutton for punishment? You wonder why Chris Hansen was well known for using young adult women as decoys instead of actual minors, but then was briefly arrested for not showing or providing sex trafficking evidence to a Michigan court, let alone a Michigan court judge. Number 2, you actually can't try to ruin someone's life. You can't just pull out your cell phone, record a video after showing supposed evidence of an NSFW tier text chat or quote-unquote sext chat. Also, how can we tell if it was an actual predator trying to go after some pussy? Or is it a bunch of these predator hunters, in quotations, setting a minor up to be endangered, or worse, diddled, raped, or even murdered? There is no set in stone or absolute way to fully tell and confirm beyond the shadow of a doubt that the situation happened as it is shown. Looks and screenshots can be flat out deceiving. You never trust deceitful screenshots at face value. If anyone out there is gonna try and argue, well, obviously, Bryan, you can clearly tell that the predator started the NSFW chat log. Well, if you think that, or even believe that for a second, you're a fucking charlatan. You're a fucking simpleton. There's really nothing else I can say to you. How did this minor or even child get into contact with the predator in the first place? Was the decoy dumb enough to take the bait? Or is she or the whole group of these quote-unquote predator hunters truly hiding something out of context to try and make a point? The world may or may not know, and may never know. Number 3, you can't bait desperate people into things they don't really mean to do. I used To Catch a Predator as an example on why this practice is incredibly shitty in my old late 2021 video that I premiered on New Year's Day 2022 about separating objective fetishes from the subjective ones. It isn't really just a fetish anymore if a minor is in danger or at risk of being killed in the worst case scenario. And finally, number 4, you can't be hiding the truth for too long when it comes to the situation where a minor or even child is endangered. This is the final out of the few other reasons I had that I have adequately and fully conveyed throughout this video. Y'all can't be the ones hiding the truth for so long in any of these dangerous situations, revolving around a minor or even worse, a little child, be it a boy or a girl. Endangering a minor as a misdemeanor or even felony is just as bad, or if not worse, than being a predator just looking for that putang. Because if you use a minor or child as a decoy yourself when children cannot consent until they're 18 years old, why else would they think they could just legally get away with endangering at least a 17-year-old on the internet? The age of consent in one state or another state doesn't mean shit when it comes to actually trying to quote-unquote catch a predator. If he or she is not 18, I have a problem with it legally, and I fucking goddamn should, because that shit is shitty. And if you support these predator hunters doing that, I'm sorry, but you're part of the problem, and I have no respect for you. You disingenuous piece of shit human being. This situation has to either be completely fake or fictional or played out. While the shitty situation of living with abusive parents is occurring in spite of this entire charade or act, or they would all be in serious legal trouble for actually endangering a minor, had the person or decoy in question be a minor in the first place. And not tell anyone until the recording on OBS begins or when the cameras start proverbially rolling. If you do any of this and consider yourself a quote-unquote predator hunter or a supporter of a predator hunter, I dearly and truly feel sorry for your dumb ass. You should have never found these people in the first place. Look what happened to Vita. Look what happened to Ichabod. They got exposed somewhat, but what were the others doing to contribute to their exposure? What would that mean? I don't know, and I never will know for sure.
Overall, in conclusion, LioConvoy is, number one, a hypocrite by bragging about being consistent in his morals and his faith in Christianity, when he's morally inconsistent at best when it comes to dealing with predator hunters right away, or, more likely, being a blatant hypocrite using his religion and his faith as a cudgel against those that disagree with or criticize him for his flawed past at worst. Number two, he's a pseudo-intellectual who refuses to engage with people, who criticizes him fairly and openly, has very bad takes on some dramas, AI art, and other things surrounding predator hunting in general. Number three, LioConvoy is a bad faith individual who surrounds himself with people he'd consider quote-unquote friends blindly, but deals with them when seemingly convenient. Number four, he's not an innocent saint in any of these scenarios. If anything, he should be ashamed of himself for even calling himself a fucking predator hunter to begin with. Number five, he's a melodramatic Karen that hides behind the characteristic of being a quote-unquote boomer to get sympathy points. Number six, he's a masochist who gets himself all boiled up in the blood with stupid shit that nobody has any goddamn right to go through no matter what. And finally, number seven, LioConvoy or Thomas fucking Guerra is an all-around asshole and a douchebag. And there is no goddamn way in hell that I wouldn't make this video a thing, because I have to, alright? Thank you all for watching this commentary video. I have been your delightful host, Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. If LioConvoy's going to respond to this, or he's just gonna block me, ignore me, and just hand-wave me away as a narcissist, a troll, or just a dickhead. But if he does, so be it.
Good God, what is wrong with you?
So before I start my second and probably last response to LioConvoy, which is a major one, instead of a minor one I'll just leave up on my Drama Archive channel, I want to get things very clear. A few to be exact. Number one, this response video will concern and include definitions and showing some more context for you people if you are really demanding for it. Like you were in the video I made exposing LioConvoy for his hypocrisy, for working with an active predator while there's a victim of sexual assault around, and them being a minor at the time, so Tom indirectly endangered a minor there. Even if you see the GoFundMe page and you still haven't changed your mind whilst criticizing that video or shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it, I hope you're glad with me blocking your dumb ass in the comment section. If you trolls try to fuck around or try to do anything like send threats or anything, I will either take them seriously if they're legit or block you if they're not. And three, for whatever reason, if LioConvoy does anything shady or something that's noteworthy of pointing out the irony of, I will only do this on my Drama Archive until the entire drama is over, so then I can put all this in a mega compilation. So now let's begin.
Do not ever try to play that game with me. I don't de-escalate. I go full scorched earth. Michael is a peaceable man. I am far more comfortable with conflict. I've been hunting actual predators for years now, and I've been dealing with lying clowns like you my whole life. You are more concerned with lovely Lena's lying. Who cares? I deal with liars every day. I'm talking to one right now. If I have somebody tap me on the shoulder and say, Lio, there's a child predator in this server, I'm done with you and I go. Never let it be said that I won't admit when I was wrong. You're muted, by the way, now on this end.
I realize
Have
that.
fun. Go be with your psychosexual weirdo friends, knowing full well that your family doesn't love you anymore.
First off, there's a real example of a predator hunter IRL endangering a minor by using a minor as a decoy in an amateur sting. If you want a real-life example, look no further than Kyle Swanson of St. Louis, formerly a head of a now-to-be-defunct predator hunter vigilante group known as KTS. He was indicted, forced into closing down the vigilante group, and agreed to stop doing this quote-unquote predator hunting shit, which led up to all those charges against him being dropped in 2021. But let's get back on topic here, or the main focus of this video. How many convictions does old Thomas here really have under his belt? Because just labeling yourself as a predator hunter in quotations makes the phrase or name of the hobby that you're engaging in lose all of its intended meaning as time goes on. Will he mention exactly how many predators were actually convicted for committing a sexually predatory crime because of his predator hunting? If not, it doesn't matter anyway. Arrests don't count until there's a conviction that is directly a result of that arrest, eventually or down the line, no matter how long it takes. Or will he needlessly hide behind his own braggadocious nature like a coward would? Because if so, I'd like to see him try to name any. By the way, the only reason why weirdos find you, Tom, instead of the other way around, is simply because you've shown a habit of surrounding yourselves with weirdos to begin with, and trusting a few. If he actually doesn't have any convictions under his belt, he's more likely an online predator exposer anyway, given how effective he is at that, however. Or rather, not for most of the time. Thomas's last name, Guerra, meaning war, and Denobi's last name, Ortiz, meaning brave, strong, or fortunate, have one thing in common: dishonesty and cowardice. Surname jokes and obvious sarcasm aside, let's get serious now. And plus, if Lio dares to try and false DMCA this video, I will take screenshots and make a video out of it. The onus is only on either the victim or witness of the crime that concerns the victim to file a police report and try to help get charges pressed on the suspect of any of these sexual crimes if they're committed at all. Not on a vigilante group or person such as yourself or yours truly. Because I'm not into this shit, and technically you're not really digging deep enough to be in this shit anyway. I'm totally not saying that he does not have a single conviction that's related to the crime of any predator committing a crime that's literally relevant to them being sexually predatory. Be it sexual battery, sexual assault, or even child rape. Now am I? Of course I am. Because there's not a single goddamn one under his belt. He actually doesn't. But that's if any of these predators he caught, in quotations, had committed an actual crime. That's not the case, however, with LioConvoy, also known as Thomas Guerra of Spring, Texas. I, among anyone else who knows how to do research and the history of him being falsely DMCA'd by shitty terminally online people like Denobi Ortiz, already know what house you live in. But since that's not relevant, I will be at least respectful enough and not bring that up. Unless you do something to where I have to.
And of course there's Vita too. But we can't listen to him, no. He's all about drama, right? So we should ignore everything he says. None of you are talking about this. Instead, you're still doing what you've always done. Sit quietly and hope it all just magically goes away like this is some infantile drama. None of you learned from the incident with Pedo Hat, and your lack of action only continues to prove that.
The best you've done here was exposed Grizzly the Medic. And now that predator, after being exposed, can never land a job in that field he was working in ever again. Not because you got him convicted, not that you have to, because you didn't, even though it was the closest to getting one. But the fact is that anything you've done at all had an impact, IRL, in that one example alone. If anything, that predator doesn't even need to be hunted down or arrested until he actually committed an actual crime or felony. Just being predatory and sending NSFW nudes, be it a work of art or an image taken by a cell phone camera, after having engaged in online erotic roleplay with that said minor, just won't cut it for getting actual justice or a conviction underneath your belt, even if the victim is at the age of consent, no matter which state they live in. To be more accurate and blunt, you have exposed predators in the brony analysis community, which is a subsection of the My Little Pony community, among many others. But that's all you've done for the past 5+ years. I'm not going to name them all because that's clearly not the point of this response video. But not hunted them down, however, even if you found their docs privately and were just respectful enough not to publicize them. You merely expose these predators whilst crying and complaining that these vulnerable communities, yeah, as if they weren't vulnerable already without your help, which they are, not doing anything about this. I'm not going to count any time that Tom or Vita or both went out of their way to publicly out more and more bronies or people in a community that turn out to be actual predators without those quote-unquote predators haven't committed a crime yet. Predator exposing is not the same even if you work with an actual predator yourself. If we can define a hunter in general, or at least the second definition that's relevant, according to Merriam-Webster, it is one that searches for something or someone, let alone a predator, be it online or IRL. If we can define a sexual predator in a general sense, according to Wikipedia, a sexual predator is a person seen as obtaining or trying to obtain sexual contact with another person in a metaphorically predatory or abusive manner. Analogous to how a predator hunts down its prey, so the sexual predator is thought to, quote-unquote, hunt for his or her sex partners. People who commit sex crimes such as rape or child sexual abuse are commonly referred to as sexual predators, particularly in tabloid media, or as a power phrase by politicians, and yes, vigilante groups, and vigilante people like yourself, Tom. Distinction from sex offenders. The term, quote-unquote, sexual predator is often considered distinct from sex offender. For example, many U.S. states make legal distinctions between these categories, defining a quote-unquote sexual offender as a person who has committed a sexual offense. The term sexual predator, in quotations, is often used to refer to a person who habitually seeks out sexual situations that are deemed exploitative. However, in some states in the US, the term sexual predator, in quotations, is applied to anyone who has been convicted of certain crimes, regardless of whether or not there is a history of similar behavior. In the state of Illinois, for instance, a person convicted of any sex crime against a minor is designated a sexual predator, no matter the nature of the crime. Violent versus statutory, or perpetuated against a young child versus a teenager, and regardless of past behavior. This has led to criticism that the term is being misused or overused, and thus has lost its original meaning and effectiveness.
For you to just take whatever dog shit nonsense or any inane fucking retarded excuse to defend hunting down pedos, all the fucking while having the misguided belief that all sex offenders are pedophiles, and vice versa. Sorry to break it to you. No, they're not. No, they're not. If anything, people like you muddy the waters when it comes down to even discussing the very idea of pedophiles existing in certain circles at all.
I may add that any actions such as calling 911, reporting these crimes to the police, yourself, IRL, and getting an actual conviction/justice for the victim is rendered more and more pointless and unachievable due to not making the distinction between a sexual predator and a sex offender, let alone a child sexual predator or a sexual predator that goes after minors. I don't want to get into semantics because it's retarded, but you people can understand my point now, correct? The only thing you will ever have happen at the very best of times is by outing these predators simply by them engaging in online erotic roleplay, Tom, is get someone fired from their job. No actual justice will be served IRL, but again, that doesn't matter. A predator hunter in this context is hunting for the predator just as much as the predator is hunting for sexual contact or dominance over that said minor or even child. But not all cases involve minors or children. A sexual predator's victim can be a grown woman, a grown man, someone who's gay, someone who's trans, someone who's black, or somebody else of a different color or racial background, etc. We're not going too deep into any other examples involving those cases, however. If we can clarify the levels of sexual assault in both America and Canada, according to a Canadian law firm named Cruz Law Firm, and for America, according to Quinnen Law Firm, which I will link in the description box down below. The last bit is the biggest catch when it comes to whatever happened to Mint Hearts before they turned 18 and before they moved out of Beaverton, Oregon, and moved into Spring, Texas with LioConvoy themselves. Mintheart was a victim of 4th-degree sexual assault after being groped by their thigh by their mother's ex-boyfriend, among other occasions, such as their mother being allowed to sleep right with them, and when their mother told them to lie to the police about the incidents. All of this went on while Mint supposedly had a thing for Vita, even though it turned out that Vita was actively grooming Mintheart. Despite Vita being their groomer, Tom didn't know, or rather didn't care, because both Vita and Tom had a thing for Mintheart when it comes to getting them out of the abusive household and nothing else. Other than a job, they even said that no matter if they choose to press charges or not, that nothing is going to change. Mainly because it's 4th-degree sexual assault, the least severe degree. Even if their mother's ex-boyfriend did serve time in prison, it's never and not enough to say, we have ourselves a conviction. Let's get a round of applause. Was justice served? Really? Likely not. But again, it doesn't matter anyway. There were, again, among many that Tom had to adopt, like I've said in the last response video. But make no excuse and make no mistake, this is the example of Tom indirectly endangering a minor while an active predator was still around, let alone grooming the very victim of sexual assault that Tom and Vita were trying to help at the time. I'm not going to mention Frisky Doodle because it concerns Coyote Lovely's lack of action and moral output, not Tom's, so that shit is irrelevant. But here's the more important and spicy bit for this whole response video. Let's take the only actual predator that Tom actively worked with in the past out of the few that Tom was friends with, like I've mentioned in the last response video, that was convicted for committing other minor crimes. That being Joshua Keith Vita. Joshua Keith Vita, despite the fact that he was several states away from Mint during the whole fiasco surrounding them in 2018, was exposed for the first time by FNGR in May of 2020. Queen Serafina and LioConvoy insisted on waiting for more incriminating evidence to surface, not only because Jazz is known to be a notorious liar, but also because Jazz was too afraid and even blamed Tom for a suicide attempt sometime before their initial video in 2021. After the fact of the first exposure, he got arrested and sent to jail for assaulting his mom on October 17th, 2020, while his parents were arguing, all the while Vita himself threatening to end his life. if he doesn't get enough attention. LioConvoy, a former friend and a quote-unquote predator hunter on the internet that actively worked with this predator to get Mintheart into a better place and a better life, called 911 on him. The reason why Lio called the police on Vita was because of the obvious suicide baiting for attention. And he wouldn't want to run the risk of Vita actually killing himself, which would have turned sour, and no one wants that to happen now, do they? He was later arrested again and booked on June 4th, 2021 for 3 counts of computer theft. And this is the most recent mugshot that I can find when I looked up. His real name is, of course, from Carroll County, Georgia. He may still be in jail, but if not, and if he's still around, this is not just an example of justice not being served for Jazz, but also an example of Lio's pure skill of avoiding the police while an active predator is still around, albeit abusing police resources and wasting their time. By the very logic of being a predator hunter in general, in this context, Tom has done a completely dog shit job at an obvious internet hobby, not an actual job. At this point, I don't even really blame law enforcement that much at the end of the day. Let's ask and answer a few but very simple questions. Thomas Guerra, you better pay close attention to these, because they may just put you in your place. Number 1, did Joshua Keith Vita commit any actual crimes relating to or involving sexual contact, assault, or even rape of a minor or child? Because if not, then no. Because if you're going to report him to the police for shit like that, you better have enough proof for the police to then make a determination of whether or not it's worth an arrest, let alone a conviction. They don't just do nothing and inconvenience victims of sexual assault all the time for no reason. Again, there are 4 degrees of sexual assault. Mintheart's example is concerning the least severe or the 4th. And finally, number 2, did you or the victims contact the authority about Vita's online sexual harassment of Jazz, a minor at that time when it was happening, and Mintheart while you were at it? If so, well then of course. But the police did absolutely nothing there, not because they haven't committed any crime, but because either you don't know how to teach other people to do the reporting for them, having to involve yourself in it, or you or someone else fucked it all up to hell and back. There's a reason that Tom has no convictions against any of these predators he privately doxed and reported to the police, all the while giving his name, email, phone number, and home address out to them, and reported those predators to the police or their local precincts under his belt. Since he usually goes after low-hanging fruit that don't really pose as a literal big threat to minors or children, both on the internet or IRL at all, Grizzly the Medic is the only exception, because at least Grizzly had some influence, such as BronyCon. So count Vita as not being a conviction underneath your belt in this way, Lio. And let me be clear, this may or may not be my final response to LioConvoy. I'm sure that my first one did something significant enough to him already. Anything else that Tom or anyone that's a member of or a staff member of the Senate will only go onto the Drama Archive channel until it's all put in a future major drama compilation supercut, including the videos where I bashed these online predator hunters back in December of 2022, which acts as a major lead up to and before all this drama that's happening now. Although I am able to hop on into the drama every now and then if there are actual and brand new counter-arguments / responses that I can even consider responding to. People in general are fucking idiots, man. Every time I criticize a big YouTuber or go into covering aspects of drama surrounding a guy I knew in 2019, or just put out takes that most people would rather disagree with than listen, it gets me ratioed on YouTube, even if and when I give every single factual detail correct, not a single minor inaccuracy. Well, that's beside the point, because this second response video should hopefully pour concrete over LioConvoy's proverbial grave after the first one just dug a hole for him. I'm Bryan Mullins the Fucks, signing out. Fuck you, LioConvoy. Fuck you. And absolutely fuck the Senate, too.
Go ahead,
And
Mr.
yet here I am with a loving family,
a
a career, a job, a life, and I'm not melting down because a furry said something. And this is the problem I have with all of you cocksucking idiots bringing up Vita every time you beef with me. You drag the trauma of his victims out for a gotcha on the guy who tried to help them. You are an unrepentant, immoral scumbag, and the better off the world would be if you turned yourself into a statistic tonight. Somebody needs to lay hands on you, frankly. Like, you're so goddamn stupid. And you don't care what Vita's done to these people. You don't care about the children he's preyed on. You just think it's some sort of gotcha on me because I made you butthurt. Dick up with my family. Bring them into it and see what happens. I am literally sitting in here with 600 or 867 viewers, and after it, people are going to watch this video, and you're going to be the laughingstock you should be. I hope you like all the attention you're getting, Mr. Roast Game, because this is the most you've ever gotten in your entire miserable life. Maybe I ought to shove you in the freezer. We exposed Vita 4 days after we found out in 2020. It took you days to remove a child predator when you knew
I
what they
think
did.
it was like...
It took you days?
probably-
Days? It should have taken you
Probably like
5
4
goddamn
days.
seconds! You are one of the most hateful pieces of garbage I ever knew. To gaslight you, you'd have to have an intelligence to begin with, Mr. Intellectual, which is why you're scared to get in call, because you know I will rip your throat out. Because I am pissed. I am sick and tired of deranged lunatics like you deciding that the best way to beef with me is to make comments about my family. Because you find Vita, you knew Vita for some years, yeah, before I ever found out what he was. How did I facilitate it? I'm calling out people from Camila Cuevas' server who knew a child was being groomed, sat on it for years, stayed in her circles, filed no reports. How is that irony of that versus me not knowing something where people got hurt? And you find it amusing. You find the grooming of children amusing. Somebody needs to choke the life out of you.
But no, I think if you guys ever hear on the news, man in Texas goes on Doom-esque rampage killing pedophiles, it's going to be me.
Man, literally too angry to die.
Gotta rip and tear. And you know what? I dare the courts to convict me from here and have a battle plan and a game plan ready for the weekend.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing here, and I think that's a good idea, but the one issue is her mom doesn't like her being away from home, so it's going to be hard to sell. How are we going to handle that?
Hello everyone, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox. Welcome to what will undoubtedly and actually be another part of the very first consecutive response video series I have ever made of all the 5 years in the history of Bryan Mullins the Fox. Here's some context. To get things straight, let's establish a timetable for this entire drama from July 11th, 2023 to now. But before I do, let's get into the backstory. I started my foray into bashing predator hunters on December 14th, 2022, where I criticized people like Kaz Warfox, Coyote Lovely, and everybody else that calls themselves quote-unquote predator hunters, merely for doing a shitty job. I also highlighted in that video that a few of you in neither servers or darker echo chambers may or may not have jerked off to the quote-unquote evidence. That includes evidence of zoo content or diaper fetishes or whatever. Meaning that both sides have either a Chris Hansen or CIA complex to top it all off. I then made another video bashing predator hunters on December 19th, 2022 on the 4 reasons why it's legally impossible to quote-unquote catch a predator and not be wrong about it morally and legally. By the way, back in December, I recorded those videos in the elevator at the Columbus Metropolitan Library in Dublin, Ohio, noting that 1. You can't use minors as decoys. A clarification will be made later in this video, but stick with me. Number 2, you can't just fake it all and have us believe that it happened in the way you showed that it did. Number 3, you can't just set up a minor to be endangered, at worst diddled, raped, and even murdered. And number 4, that you can't just ruin somebody's life by getting them to do or say what you want them to do or say mentioning to catch a predator. the famous TV series hosted by Chris Hansen, because the evidence would likely be inadmissible to court if this is all just part of an entrapment scheme, or worse. Quick side note, there are actual predator hunters out there that got arrested for using a minor as a decoy. Like, for example, Gary Ferguson. Kyle Swanson is an example on why entrapment is not a tactic that should be used, whilst also endangering a minor. Other examples out there exist, with well over 130 predator hunter vigilante groups in America, albeit on the rise. This is actually dangerous, because more and more minors are put at risk. More and more predators are either given what they want, or made to seem less weird or predatory in some odd situations. Seriously, why are people acting like such bots when it comes to anyone criticizing predator hunters on the internet, and their needless paranoia and suspicion against us, and slander? It's fucking ridiculous. I realized on December 26th, 2022, that this asshole nobody named, Draven Schuler, blindly dismissed all of what I said in the first video of me bashing predator hunters, and then accused me of being a quote-unquote furry pedo. I then addressed that asshole in a drama rant video and put him in his place. I then did some research on some of the most commonly regurgitated bullshit statistics when it came to pedophiles and sex offenders near the end of 2022. When I meant all sex offenders, I don't just mean child predator sex offenders. There are sex offenders who sexually assaulted men, women, and even children. Not that I'm just counting them off for the sake of nitpicking or cherry picking. Then on January 3rd, 2023, I made a video reading an article giving the basic misconceptions a well-deserved debunking, and even made people aware that predatory minors exist, where a minor is groomed, diddled, or even raped by a more dominant child or minor, or also known as juvenile sex offenders. And so far in America, there are well beyond 100,000 of them. I went off on a passionate rant while essentially saying in that video that not all child predators are sex offenders and vice versa, because of course there are predator hunters that deny this. I'm not just strawmanning people, I'm just giving a basic summary. And finally on January 4th, 2023, I premiered my last video as a part of this foray into bashing predator hunters and predator hunting in general across the board, giving a well thought out explanation on why social media platforms are getting gradually harder against people who do this kind of content. Using adults as quote-unquote minor decoys, using an actual minor as a decoy, false entrapment, bullshit pedo statistics, etc. Now, let's get back to what led up to me and LioConvoy having fake drama on the internet, alongside with many other degenerates. I have watched LioConvoy's videos since I was even made aware of his existence by SilverFox1232, of all people, over the Antunes drama video he premiered in May of 2022. As time went by, month after month, I was binge watching his streams, some of his videos, and even watched the whole Vita video that Queen Seraphina made with LioConvoy back in 2021. I was made aware of the first accountability and responsibility stream somewhat after he literally ripped right through and exposed Coyote for very shitty and degenerate things in late February of 2023. Then around April of 2023, LioConvoy made his third part of his accountability and responsibility series on Kaz Warfox and his degenerate den known as the Fox Mafia. But it wasn't always called that. It had a prior name years back. I chimed in and gave my 2 cents about it. This, of course, while I still had a Twitter account, which was mass flagged by a massive wave of angry lolicons on June 19th, 2023. I literally obliterated Vashland Set myself, and then Fursky Doodle got raked over the coals by Thomas or Tom, which is simply just a shortened version of Thomas. Don't know why he would be bothered by me shortening his name anyway. This would have also been around the same time, the whole Bryan Mullins the Fox versus Fursky Doodle situation that never materialized after the release of his addendum to his Caswar Fox video. I was highly anticipating on the part 2, which is weird for him to take months and months and can only do it when he feels like it, instead of, waiting for a call Pizza was going to give him. The one with Vashland Set being obliterated by Lio and others. I already have that one downloaded. Why else would you delay the part 2 video if the call in question has already been released to the public by clicking the link and then downloading it on the mega.nz website by someone in the comment section of one of my not too recent community posts. Also, I've posted it onto my BitChute, which I will link in the description box down below. As months grew by, I grew more and more impatient, and then on June 19th, 2023, on the same day my last Twitter account got permanently banned after 9 months and 6 days of having it, I fucking lost all my patience. But that wasn't when all this drama between me and Lyle began. On July 11th, 2023, I hopped into the comment section agreeing with the sentiment that Jack had when it only came to Lyle and Peaches not being reliable sources. Kinda understandable to say that, at least. But what does Lyle man do? He takes it personally, quotes me out of context, and took it personally while falsely insinuating that I supposedly said that Lyle used a minor as a decoy when that was clearly not what I said at all, and that all predator hunters do that. Where did the word all come from? I don't see it. I said predator hunters in general, not all. I was talking about predator hunters in general, not all. He took that personally as well because he identifies himself as one without being self-aware enough of his dark past. Something that I will later expose on July 19th, 2023 with hilarious results. Lioman and a bunch of skid marks that then hurled themselves into any comment section they could before I blocked and hid them all, by the way. They said nothing of truth or value right before the midnight hour on July 27th, 2023, 8 days after the fact that I initially exposed Lyle as a hypocrite working with a predator named Vita, unknowingly to be honest. Just because you didn't know he was a predator then does not undercut the fact that you still worked with one. Sharing my Drama Archives community post. On July 28th, 2023, after a while I have had enough of his sycophant trolls and simps, so as soon as LioConvoy put out that community post, even though sometimes drama writes its own script of events to follow and take place, I decided to be a keyboard warrior then and only then because they couldn't stop talking about me in a negative light, and a slanderous one at that. Lio started this shit show, not me. All of this happening not only because I only shared the same sentiment with someone else on Lyle and Peaches not being reliable sources, albeit adding my own bit into the mix, but also because I had the temerity to call predator hunting a hobby. Even though not all hobbies are good, not all hobbies are bad, but Lyle's too fucking retarded to differentiate, now isn't he? And to be fair, a really bad hobby. I never said he did it for pleasure, and you wonder why he has this medical condition where his blood pressure is off the charts. It could just be genetics, but it could also be because he has way too many hobbies outside of way too many jobs, but you never know. LioConvoy on July 29th, 2023 at 5 p.m. decided to host a live stream responding to only 3 preemptive jab videos of mine, including context. He decides to ignore the videos I made back in December, my video where I explained why having less predator hunters can, not will, can mean less predators, and other things that are important to act as underlying context for this entire drama saga, and even had the audacity to show my videos and the irony alert meme while your Thundercats themed stream template was literally obstructing it from view. Kinda shady, not gonna lie. If you're gonna do a live stream responding to a video, get rid of that ugly fucking layout or change it so where we can see the entire video or image without it being unnecessarily cropped or blocked off, fat fuck. Why do people call me a quote-unquote predator defender, a quote-unquote pedo, or a nonce? I have no idea, but the ad hominem attack is beyond egregious. It's slanderous as well. Also, given the fact that in 2018, Lyle told Mintheart to do the unthinkable for content in the context where it's illegal, and not in the context where Mint could just do it herself and report it to the police herself, where it is legal, without having predator hunters doing it for her. As I will mention later, the irony, if any of you people can't grasp or understand what it is in general of Lio's grandstanding is the part of this tweet where he said, and I quote, "stayed around the people that facilitated this predation and chose not to say anything until you wanted to air out a personal grievance." Making jokes about the trauma of me being shoved in the freezer in the prank doesn't really help your case against me. It makes you little cocksuckers keep copy-paste coping in the comments. That, and the fact that other people in the Senate are degenerates as well. This means that Lio went after someone else on what you call quote-unquote X now, or Twexter, or whatever, for having done something he did years prior throughout 2018, 19, and a good portion of 2020 until early May. The timeline being that Lio worked with this predator known as Vita until May of 2020. And you know what that something is? Yeah, facilitating Vita's predation. Literally making it easier for him to have been in your circle in the past whilst you were dealing with another minor at the time. Maybe had you not platformed or worked with this predator whilst this predator was friends with Mint as she was friends with him, maybe you would have walked away from all of this scot-free. You could have exposed Vita long before you had to, but where would all the great content be though? It doesn't matter anyway. That's the fucking irony, Nimrod. And of course Vita suicide baited. That's why he didn't swallow the pills. You constantly play these semantic games with your retarded and illiterate audience full of degenerates and people with disgusting fetishes, including that one fetish that Doodletones had a history of engaging in, attacked my character, slandered me, and even stooped to the level to try and cancel me in a community post concern trolling about a post on DeviantArt I deleted years ago. But you brought that up because somebody else took a screenshot of it out of context. You can't just use a completely made up and out of context screenshot, let alone quote, to get an own on me. You failed to cancel me, by the way, stupid. You were interviewed by a lolicon known as Sen. You are/were in a Cub Lover server, and your accountability and responsibility videos and stream have started to lose all meaning and overall value to represent you and your character. Hell, not only have you quoted Vita in the past, you went with them as well. Also, addressing your recent Copium stream where Peaches said it's okay to record someone's rape, even if they were a minor and they could do that and report it themselves without any help from any of these quote-unquote predator hunters. You worked with an active predator, or Vita, told Mint to record her rape, and then did absolutely nothing about Vita until you wanted to air out a personal grievance.
See, last night, Bryan, whatever the fuck the fox, posted a video, which was pretty funny considering, but I saw this ending clip, which interested me a lot, so I asked him, where did this clip come from? And lo and behold, he was very quick to find me that clip, actually the entire fucking video, and, is it not weird enough that we had 3 grown-ass men, one of them is a confirmed pedophile, that is talking about absconding a teenage girl from her mother? That's not weird enough as it is. Let's see this part. Let's see this brilliant suggestion from Lio the Boomer fucking Groomer Convoy.
Or her other option is, of course, to set up that camera tonight and see what happens.
Yeah, that's one thing I think should happen either way, is get that camera rolling just in case. Because the moment that's caught on footage,
those are pretty cheap, aren't they?
Do my ears deceive me?
No, but you can. If you see the screen, you can see that it's recording.
Yeah.
So I flip it over.
You better hope it doesn't fall over at night.
Do my ears deceive me? Or are you telling me that you told that girl to record her rape? To essentially record CP? And here we have Vita giving some camera angle ideas for you, Lio.
I think it'd be better if she put the camera on that sucker, have it recording in the corner, minimized, and you're good to go.
That might be worth a shot.
I think it'd be better
I have 2 things recording just in case.
But at that point, that's his problem. Statutory rape usually requires penetration of a sort.
Oh, okay.
There's probably some hefty charges you can get either way, though.
Never mind how creepy excited Vita is about this. Let's kind of focus on the fact that this is your fucking idea. This was your fucking idea. This was your brilliant fucking idea, Lio. You told Mint to record her fucking rape. Then you fucked up that whole thing with Vita and she went to go live with you? Does anyone else but me see how fucked up this is? I can't even put it into words how fucking twistedly fucked up this is. What in the fuck is the matter with you?
I can't fucking believe you. I can't fucking believe you. You know what? I have no fucking words right now on how pissed off I am. Do you have any fucking idea how bad this is? You just literally told a fucking victim to record her fucking rape, and you thought it was the moral righteous thing to do for you, or any time that you claim that you have any fucking morals? I don't want to fucking hear it. I really don't. You are no better than any of those fucking degenerates that you claim that they are the worst. You're no better than them for fucking doing this. This is why you are trying to silence me, Cass, and multiple others, which you failed miserably at. This is the exact reason why. So that way people will fucking find this. And it wasn't us who found this. It was Bryan Mullins, the fox of all people, that found this. So I'd rather not hear any fucking excuses coming out of your ass. Fuck you. Fuck anybody who tries to say, oh, Lio means well. I don't want to fucking hear any of it. I have an actual family, unlike you. I do. And I know what's right. I know what's wrong. Unlike you, I don't make the stupid, shitty suggestion like that. So I'd rather not hear anything from you ever again. Get bent, Lio, you worthless vigilante scumbag. Fuck you, motherfucker. Seriously, I'm done.
Now, here is the more serious and dark part of this response video, but it won't be a proper part 3 had I not put this long clip in the video. It's from my recent video called The Truth About the Mint Heart Situation, originally uploaded on August 26, 2023, sometime before Lio's Copium stream on me, Grimskull, and Neora started streaming and came out. Isn't it funny that my video came before his stream, and they refused to watch the whole thing? I found that funny. Oh, this is so stupid and I hate him. Can we just rid the screen of the facts? Sure we can. Now let's get to the super chats and fuck everything else. But with all that being said, let's play this long clip of The Truth About the Mint Heart Situation. Well, I never thought I would have to make another video about LioConvoy mentioning him, but this is far more important than you think. Grimskull has done God's work, and so have I, Neora, and others for spreading awareness of all this shit. And even I see that you can't argue with people who've already made up their minds about you, all because of my edgy past. Instead of looking at me as the person I am now. Note that this isn't necessarily a response video to Thomas himself. He already apparently washed his hands and other people's hands of me anyway. But I have a more important theory as to what led up to the GoFundMe page, or really, rather, what options they thought were available after its launch. This is the truth about the Mint Heart situation. All of it unfiltered. So apparently, the GoFundMe page wasn't the only option for Mint. But at the end of the day, I wonder if Mint consented to Lio's shitty suggestion/idea or not. That's what matters the most in this story. It was among 3 options, one of which is just downright criminal. So let me sum all of them up here. To be clear, the other 2 were suggestions by both Lio and Vita a day after the GoFundMe page was created on September 27th, 2018. Here are all of them anyway. Number 1, do nothing. Don't even press charges against her abuser and move on long after being sexually assaulted, having known that their abuser has been in her life for 12 years. Or, number 2, by the way, this second choice was an either or in and of its own right. Lio told Mint at the time to either have them abscond her away from their abusive mother's home the same one where their abuser lived, or set up and record Mint potentially being raped, or at least sexually abused, so they can supposedly have evidence to report to the police for her. I'm sure it's not necessarily to use it as evidence against her abuser, because it's likely for a more darker, degenerate purpose. Worse than I can ever say, to be frank. The potential distribution of CP, regardless if it was intended or not. Lio told her to record her potentially being raped, either on her phone or on another device like a computer that has a built-in camera, or both. Both of them even suggested the perfect angle for a dastardly and outright criminal attempt to abscond a then-to-be minor, or the other option if the first one fails. After all, Lio did in fact tell Mint to do so, which is not only entrapment, but even worse, endangering a minor potentially for sexual gratification, instead of what they thought would be the end result. Strangely enough, having Mint record her rape herself and reporting it to the police, if this were to have occurred at all, is still risky but legal. Surprise, surprise. Even in her own state at the time. And I don't want to hear the whole excuse of, he told her that because they wanted to use it as evidence against her abuser bullshit. Endangering a then-to-be minor is no excuse to trivialize the trauma of sexual assault victims like Mint. Unlike you, Lio, I never told anyone to record either their own sexual assault or even worse, their own rape on camera, and then have to report it to the police for her myself. The idea of Lio telling that to her in the past for the purpose of possible CP distribution, let alone obtaining it illegally, instead of having her do the work herself so she can try and get justice against her abuser, makes me want to throw up. Now let's define statutory rape, since they brought it up in the original call/recording, and also because it's not just concerning sexual assault at this point. Statutory rape, to sum it up bluntly after having watched this video, as it is stated clearly on the board, as when a male defendant 18 years old or older has sexual intercourse with a female victim under the age of 18 years old. Consent does not matter. It not being forced upon her or being forced upon her does not matter either. Just because it's not between an arbitrary age range for the victim does not mean that what would have ever happened to that then-to-be minor is anywhere near justifiable or logical even. So in ensuring that Mint didn't show that she didn't consent to this potential rape, Lio told her to record it if their abuser dared to try and rape her, in case if the first option of them absconding her from her abusive home failed. Because the justice system is completely fucked up. Him and Vita would have likely gotten away with it, having told her to do so anyway. Because had Mint shown any sentiment demonstrating that she did not condone or they did not condone or consented to the idea of this even going down, it would have been a lot worse. If Lio and Vita went through with this, the evidence of Lio planning it would be inadmissible to the courts anyway, knowing that her abuser would have just easily washed his hands of them and gotten away with it scot-free. Not only that, it would have escalated to a full-blown rape, and had her abuser done it again to humor Lio and Vita in the most disgustingly predatory way imaginable, the abuse would not only continue, the trauma would be unbearable to recover from, it could lead to the victim herself, or himself if it's a male, committing suicide. Because the pain and sexual abuse and torment is just too much. That and the idea of having their family abandon them and render them homeless too. And that is the most fucked up part about all of this. And the thing that just made me almost explode with unbridled rage at the time of even fucking taking this into consideration is that Lio thought this was a good idea. Almost like I gave the exact examples that you wanted me to give you of endangering a minor or putting other minors in harm's way, Lio. That's all I did. Let's be clear. If you were trying to bust a predator or expose an obvious sexual abuser, you don't become a weapon for which the abuser can use against Mint. Never give your enemy any ammo, even if it means you being your enemy's ammo at all. Or, number 3, set up a GoFundMe page, later facilitating the online grooming of Mint Hearts, never reporting Vita for his predation for years, even when Vita got arrested himself, him staying in Lio's circle until 2020, and basically filing no reports against Vita for his predation all this time, but only called the cops on him for a wellness check. That is an even more gruesome, more crushing irony than I have ever pointed out in the past, and I would be further remiss had I not have the opportunity to make a video like this. The way the GoFundMe page was even set up is suspicious. Mint had to dox herself because she couldn't do all of this GoFundMe stuff by herself legally. Vita was the adult and beneficiary in this situation. Vita was given Mint's now-to-be-dead name, Emily Tellez, including her middle name, her mother's home address, her email address, and Vita, for some time before giving it to LioConvoy, was the one who was legally pulling the strings of this fundraiser. This despite the fact that minors can start up their own fundraiser, but would have to rely on an adult because she herself at that time didn't and can't have their own bank account until they're 18 years old. Their abusive mother couldn't possibly let that slide with her own bank account. I don't think Mint used her mother's bank account, did she? Because if so, I would agree with the abusive mother only on that point. If she ever did, she didn't. So at this point, Vita had to carry the burden initially. Then it became Lio's burden 6 days later. And now I will have to weigh in on what happened during and after the GoFundMe page's somewhat successful run. This one video or live stream from one of Anthony's other channels called Fan and Frenzy, on September 27th, 2018, he posted the notorious call where Lio and Vita suggested that Mint should record her rape. On September 28th, 2018, Vita then confirmed that Vita is running the GoFundMe page, after Mint apparently handed it to him. 6 days later, Vita gave it over to Lio not because he was too much of a pussy to handle the money as Lio would have you believe himself. It was because Vita couldn't financially support the fundraiser, nor could Mint even when she was a minor. Knowing that Lio was well beyond able to assist him with helping and accommodating Mint's financial needs. Just a week later, Lio updated people on the success of the GoFundMe page. How and why did Mint move to Nebraska for? I will tell you. With the funds of the GoFundMe page that was given to her by Lio himself, when all of that went to shit later on. All of this moving out of Oregon was because Mint was somehow able to prove herself to be mature enough and with enough help from others who supported the GoFundMe page. All the while, her piece of shit abusive mother couldn't prove to the court that Mint was still an immature child who's still needing mommy's influence and guidance, nor could she prove that she's safe with an actual sexual abuser right by her mother's side. Just like any other state in America, Nebraska was generous to an extent when it came to minor emancipation. According to Nebraska law, upon emancipation, a minor may be able to establish their own residence, incur debt or contractual obligations, consent to medical decisions, enlist in the military, marry without consent, be eligible for public assistance, the litigation and settlement of controversies, enroll in school or college, or acquiring property. And just a finishing touch to the timeline of the GoFundMe page, on January 23rd, 2019, Lyle, then under Vita's name, gave people the final update. How and why did it all go to shit? Because Mint, just like any irresponsible teenager in their teenage years, had the tendency to spend too much and just had a habit of impulse buying shit that she only wants and not enough of what she needs. And even if she bought whatever she needed to keep herself in a place to live, not being financially responsible enough and somehow having trust in Lio anyway became the main two reasons why she needed to move in with Lio. But the problem is, right around when she turned 18, or were 18, doesn't matter which, in 2019, she wanted to move in with Lio. You know, the same guy who once told Mint to record her rape. Sometime in 2019, Mint moved in with Lio, putting herself in harm's way because back then, Vita was still in Lio's circle, and Vita felt betrayed that Lio did this so he can have the last laugh. Vita, being a convicted mom beater, computer thief, and an online sexual predator, this whole time made it all the more hilarious for the ever-growing crowd of LioConvoy supporters and snowflakes to support him even more. For 2 whole years, Lio has let a predator into a then-to-be minor's life, not only endangering her at that time, but even going as far as Lio suggesting that she should record her rape in the context where it would have been illegal to. But Lio's association with Vita doesn't go anywhere near as long as Vita's and Mint's terminally online relationship. Mint started her YouTube channel and DeviantArt under the name Mint25 or Jordan Doodles on YouTube when it was Mintheart back in 2015. And I hate to break it to you all, Jordan or Mintheart was friends with a predator just like Lio, and also allowed him to be in her online life for roughly 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, long before Lio did. Vita was then outed from Lio's circle in May of 2020, after 4 days of Lio and the gang finding out that Vita has been a child predator this whole time, just as long as what Rosa Ray Ramsey's bad excuse would have had you all believe, had it not been proven to be false, or it actually having been 8 months as opposed to 4 days. But again, 2 years for Lio and Mintheart for 4 years is way longer and way worse than just 8 months. This just further proves that LioConvoy is worse than both Rosa Ray Ramsey and Rebecca Starlight when it comes to handling a predator in their midst, let alone their circle combined. Even then, Mint's friendship with Vita is actually worse than Lio's involvement with working with him and facilitating the grooming of Mintheart himself. Because, to simply put, Lio wasn't even into predator hunting in 2016. He only got into it because of Toon Critic in early 2018. At the end of the day, what happened in the past, and it should stay that way. And no one, not even Lio himself, can wiggle his way out of this one. That is not only proof of Lio facilitating the grooming whilst Vita is an active predator himself, he also told Mint to record her being raped or potentially raped or sexually abused in the context where it's illegal, not in the context where it's legal if she did it herself. Which is extremely fucked up. Words almost fail to describe that magnitude of how fucked up all of this really is. Anyone who is unironically a supporter or fan of LioConvoy, unsubscribe. Please, God, don't even come back. And don't you dare think that you are smarter than you actually are, just because you pulled the classic whataboutism card. And I have clearly asked Mint about this in a comment where it reads, Jordan, did you ever consent to or ever noticed that he suggested to you to record your potential rape? I don't know how they're gonna respond. There's no point in being gender neutral anymore, but I'm doing so anyways, so fuck it. So how and what she, at the time, would have responded with will be covered in the Part 3 response to LioConvoy. If she says nothing, I won't be surprised. And if Mint/Jordan does try to cover up for her own or their own mistakes in this situation, or for the fact that she was also part of the problem for not only having Vita as a friend before Lio came along, but then became one of Vita's victims, and then Lio facilitating his grooming, further proves that nobody can ever be innocent in this situation or a situation like this. Not even the victim herself or themselves. She would be the perfect candidate for the wall, just as much if not more than both the predator and the predator facilitator, or predator hunter in quotations, themselves combined, if she decides to side with Lio anyway, no matter what. I am not tolerating any of that whataboutism bullshit. I am sick and tired of having all of Lio's little cocksuckers drooling in the comments, failing to think of anything argumentatively productive to say, nor will I tolerate any of the nonsense I see Spurgs and Spastics spurg out about in the Senate Discord, or better yet, community Discord as well. Helping someone to leave their abusive parents' house should not be used as a shield against the fact that Lio did indeed told Mint to record her rape. Not only that, but he also facilitated the grooming of Mint by Vita. Nor should it be used as an excuse to exploit the very victim of sexual assault that you were there to help. Supposedly. Mint may be a degenerate themselves, but it's no excuse to trivialize the trauma just to get some sick own on her abuser, potentially recording CP. And that's why it bothers you, Lio man, because people like me are starting to question your lack of ethics in this one. And you had the nerve to call me a projectionist and a predator defender of all things. And for anyone else even suggesting or arguing otherwise, it's just going to make you look like you're coping even harder to your copium tank's content. This is why you don't just fucking sully yourself and being a predator's right-hand man. In conclusion, that is the terrifying and sad truth about the Mint Heart situation. This video will make it into my part 3 response video to LioConvoy, not separating minor and major response videos anymore, because there's just no point in doing so. Now, I will sum it all up for you before I say my final words and close the video off. I will sum it all up for you. Number 1, the GoFundMe page was never the first and final solution. Lio and Vita had other sick and twisted ideas in mind, but unfortunately, it did come to a legal and financial cost. 2, the GoFundMe page, although it is somehow successful, says nothing about how all this shit impacted Mint to the point where this could have potentially been one of the reasons why she transitioned. Nor will it, because her transitioning had almost nothing to do with it. Number 3, Lio and Vita are the reasons why Mint should have never trusted them, but she had no choice anyway. 4, it is never a good idea for anyone to tell you to record your rape in the context that it is in, even if it's for some sick own on a sexual abuser or predator, and have them report it to the police for you. It's only legal if you do that yourself, without the consent of your abuser in question. Although it is risky, and calling 911 and reporting it right away is a much better option, that's how I just contextually put all of this into perspective. 5, her abusive mom is still a piece of shit, but I can now understand to the fullest extent possible as to why Mint had no choice but to leave that abusive home. And finally, number 6, this is why you never hand a minor to a predator. It will all come back to bite you in the ass. And in this context, it was Lio's ass. And partially Mint's because she had him in her life, or their life, given that they're trans now to begin with. I have about done what I needed to get done, so before I end this video, I want to thank you all for watching, and one quick message to Anthony or for no good reason. If you can't take the fact that Lio told Mint to record her rape and have them report it to the police themselves for her without being a petty fuck yourself, it takes 2 to tango, but it only takes 1 to put all the pieces to the puzzle together. Before I do close out the video, I want to make a thing or two clear. Guerra has multiple origins, including an Italian one, so I pronounced it in the Italian way, Guerra, and not the Hispanic or Portuguese way, guerra. You don't have to call me a gringo, because of course, it's ridiculous to know that one surname can have multiple origins and a longer history. So, before this video ends, and may contribute to a 4th installment to this response video series, I have to say that Anthony's livestream attempting to defend Lio and himself is pathetic, and so is Lio's recent cope stream with Peaches. It's abundantly clear that there really is no coming back from this for both Lio and Anthony, since they're just both a bunch of degenerate predator hunter wannabe creeps anyway. So, thank you all for watching part 3, and may the 4th part be with you later on. I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you then.
So you're gonna get to see what these people are like and the stupid excuses they make. Talking about sexually assaulting people. Well, it's a joke, bro. It's a joke. It's not a joke. Especially when you say it in anger. It's venting. And if your immediate vent is to talk about how you want to sexually assault people, yeah, you're just a rapist without any victims yet.
Huh?
You're just a rapist without any victims yet.
You must be from Reddit.
So now you're catching the hands.
Before I get into what will be the last part of this response video series, and before I let this whole Predator Hunter Civil War drama series compilation of mine to die, or the drama that only involves me, and compiling it all in April of 2024. Anything else that I haven't touched upon will either be touched upon by people like SilverFox1232, or if not bigger ones, too. The point of the last installment to the very first consecutive response series I have ever made is just analyzing the aftermath, sharing my opinions/thoughts about how I should have dealt with things and move on. I can't really hold a grudge against that one person for too long, but Lio can, apparently. I get the double standards of the retarded nature of YouTube commentary in 2023, but it just gets to the point where I just have to put my foot down and say I had enough and I just want out of this. From this day forth, this will be the last installment of this first ever response series I made directly. And well, I don't know if I can be able to do another drama series just like this, but at this point, there's just no use continuing this one. Hi everyone. I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, and at this point, I am done with this bullshit drama for now, and this response series forever, because at this point, both sides are just flinging shit at each other, hoping whatever sticks will stick. I don't know where all of this is going to go, and I'm not gonna venture another guess that will render my chances of continuing to cover it pointless, because others are just gonna do it better than I can. I think I might have contributed to it, alongside with Grimskull, SilverFox1232, and his video coming up, or if not, well, the aftermath of the last 3 parts of this quadrilogy have been tame to say the least. The drama was not going to last forever on my end anyway. It all dies with a whimper, nothing more. It's really odd and a bit funny how he didn't even respond to part 1. He might have decided that he wouldn't, or watched it and just didn't care to respond to it. He only responded to part 2 as of not too long ago, as I am recording this, but he responded to it poorly. All he did is host another Cope stream and muted anyone that dared to mention Lio, Mint, or Vita in not just a negative light, but in the same context where Lio should really double check anyone, let alone himself, that he might associate with before you talk to them, not after. I watched the whole stream, but I was never in the chat. Funny that. Also, the way they dismiss any criticisms against them is to mute them, try and fail to justify recording someone's rape in the context where it's then illegally obtained, not just directly sent to the police as surveillance, even though it was never recorded at all. And I think it's not worth being in the chat of his Cope streams anymore. I only did that in the first Cope stream he did on July 29th, you know, the one he's done on me, because I thought it would be funny to see him cope and cry about me. But now it's just sad, you know? I guess more and more intelligent people are starting to realize how much of an unlikable, hypocritical piece of shit Lio is, and the best way to move on for me is just let others fight the good fight in this online civil war. It doesn't take a whole lot to be brave in this situation. You could just simply push back and not fold to the big fat Lio man like an absolute cuck, or someone with an absolutely fucking disgusting humiliation fetish. Or you can just avoid talking to him entirely and just call it out without needing his input. I know that Lio himself isn't technically a predator, but him telling Mint to record her rape, of course in the context where it then would have been illegally obtained instead of her sending it to the police and getting her abuser not just arrested but convicted, was the closest to him potentially being one, or at least a predator enabler, even though he is, without that, footage ever being recorded at all, like I've said before. Lio is just one of the few spurgs/internet tough guys that has exposed himself as an unrespectable, insufferable, pathetic man-child. And he's such a spurg that can't really let a grudge of his own go, and other people can't do that either in a way where they don't drag the drama out forever. It could be months, it could even be years, but let it not have anything to do with me anymore at this point. I can still cover other dramas that have fuck all to do with me, but I have to be extremely careful on how I handle living topics though. As I learned from advice from Fox Azor, if anything else comes out of the woodwork so much that it would be redundant to continue this response series, it would only be me covering it, ranting about it, and giving my 2 cents about it in a video on my drama archive, and then I move on to the next thing. I don't give a fuck that these degenerates can and likely will have the longest grudges for the pettiest and retarded reasons. I shouldn't give all that filler that much attention anymore. It's just gonna drag on forever. If you go anywhere near getting on his bad side so much as mildly criticizing him for his past or whatever, it can even be as petty as a mere disagreement or even a bit of an argument. You bet your ass he's going to make another one of those cope streams, because that's all he has left. His part 2 of the Caswar Fox series or whatever was complete dog shit. And by the way, Silver Fox 1232 never and did not defend a zoophile. And him just blindly labeling anyone that disagrees with him as either a zoophile defender, predator defender, or whatnot, it's just redundant to even continue this, cause you know he's gonna pull this retarded shit. Lio Man, or LioConvoy, or Thomas Guerra is now just a lolcow with just a shitload of other lolcow subscribers. It couldn't be all the more ironic. And you know what? I will admit it, I was wrong about Gilded Pooh and other people. I admit it. But there will just be the smallest things that anyone could get so wrong so easily. Lio can do that to anyone because we're all humans and we're too immune to constantly flowing information and drama. And we can't really handle all that much all at once. Lio is just really good at manipulating people initially about everything. I am not. And yes, just to bring it back up, like I've said before, Lio's part 2 on Caswar Fox was just a complete dumpster fire, because now it seems that Lio and Cass are basically no different from each other when it comes to associations. I just don't think I bear that much relevancy to the shit pile anymore than I thought before. That, and Lio slandering Silver Fox 1232, Harley TPS was never groomed, Grimskull was never a predator defender or a groomer defender at all, nor was Foxton. I just hate the slander of Foxton, Grimskull, Silver Fox 1232 for simply calling him out and simply getting facts straight. And yes, I have been lumped in myself with the group. Because of course, all they do is just dunk on people with no substance. That's what Lio and Peaches and a bunch of other spurgs in his fucking retarded audience does. So now, here are my thoughts and opinions. You can pull out an own against Caswar Fox when it comes to Kurovo Nut Bar, but if we did that to you when it came to the Vita situation or Ichabod situation surrounding Mintheart, we're somehow predator defenders? Are you fucking kidding me, Lio? And by the way, rest in piss the whole Bryan Mullins the Fox vs. LioConvoy drama response series in general, cause this is all just a massive shit pile. July 30th, 2023, all the way up to the time this video initially is uploaded. The other 2 mirrors are just to concretely seal its fate on other channels. After almost 2 months of its span, it's over. All of this shit happening over a comment debacle thread, and because I couldn't be fucked to wait any longer for the Caswar Fox Drama Part 2 video after waiting for far too long. I bet that if that video even came out by the time of this one coming out, which it did, it will just be more of the same from Lio and the Senate, baseless accusations, calls that don't matter or come with fabricated evidence, and other shit that's taken completely out of context for views. And it's succeeding. This drama was fucking retarded and pointless. You know what I was right about? Lio using minors like Mint as a decoy and endangering them. Now, given that these quote-unquote archive channels surrounding the Senate, Top of the Barrel, Vita, LioConvoy, Mintheart, and so on are now just deleting everything. I am clearing the fuck out of all this. So much has happened since then, and clearly I'm not on Cass's side of the matter either. I've never been, and I never had to. I was just a bad solitary actor in covering the drama this year. And speaking of Cass, look who's back.
Kaz, you are live on It's a Grimskull. How are we doing, buddy?
Oh man, it's been a while, 5 months or so, right?
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you ever since you ever been on anything live, I think it's been a small minute.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been online to talk my shit effectively. Hello everyone. How's it going? It's probably weird as fuck to hear a ghost from the past at this point, I'm sure.
Yes, yes indeed. So, Kaz, what are your thoughts so far on all the information that we found out about Lio and his found family?
I fucking called it. So when me and Vlad had that one Discord chat that got leaked, I specifically said that it kind of comes across like Lio's got some skeletons to hide. And honestly, I've yet to see a rebuttal, especially after this. So, I think it's funny that you came after me over the Vlad shit, Lio. I will say that good marks for you on that one because you know how to play the optics game. I'll give you that. The problem is, next time, if you're going to try to make a lolcow, you don't force it. Never ends well. Trust me, I've been around the block longer than you when it comes to the whole lolcow thing. It never ends well when you force this shit. It never ends well when you go after someone over spite. It never ends well when you moral fag about stuff on the internet that most people, quite frankly, aren't going to care about because of like petty shit on the internet. I'm sorry to say this, bro. You really fucked yourself in this one. So, for anyone who doesn't know what I've been doing the last 5 months, I decided instead of engaging in this gay drama, I went out, got involved in a lot more work, and actual job shit, schooling, and having some fun time with somebody in my personal life. Meanwhile, apparently, I've been told this guy's been running his mouth about me for 5 months. 5 months. 5 fucking months. This guy has been talking about me. Is that correct, Grimskull? Am I insane for that?
No, you're not insane at all. That's exactly what happened. He's been promising a part 2 to a video of his initial slander and has yet to actually put it out there. He has slandered you. He has slandered Vlad. He has slandered Fursky Doodles. He has slandered Gallagher. He slandered a multitude of many people, and for no other reason than being a part of Fox Mafia over the Coyote stuff. So, I mean, do you have any comment on that?
I mean, I'm not surprised it always goes back to Coyote. I mean, a lot of them, even before the stream, gave me a lot of shit for even wanting to talk about the thread. And try to say some things about me, including like Daya or whatever, try to flag down my Discord server, the original Fox Mafia, because I refuse to shut up about the Coyote thread, or like I let people talk what they want to about that thread. I remember Lagovert made his video about Coyote Lovely, which most of it was about me. And how like they agree that my methods are effective, but they still didn't like how I handle things, or I guess it boiled down to they just didn't like me over the Coyote shit. And honestly, here's my hot take real quick. I got a few I want to dish out anyway. After 5 fucking months of this bullshit. If you were just honest about the fact that this was just petty call-outs and that you just got mad over the Yodi shit, fine. None of this would have happened. This wouldn't have been a 5-month drama. No one would have cared. We would all have our little funny little banter about it, and people would have moved on with their lives. But no, it has to be life ruination. Like, what is that, Grim? I mean, how involved were you in dealing with these people?
I mean, not at all. Initially, I didn't know who the fuck these people were. They just popped out of nowhere, trying to like fucking intimidate Foxton into a fucking group call. And I took their fucking private DMs where they're over here just trying to like Darth Sidious like Foxton into this group call, posted it on Twitter. And then all of them all at once started like just popping in and just like going at us on fucking Twitter over the Harley TBS situation. So that's my interaction with the Senate. Like, and then here I am now having to talk about their fucking like leader, the leader of the Thundercats here, fucking having random fucking like daughters on the internet, adopted daughters on the internet, all of which were involved with some molestation incident that occurred that he was involved in. So it's, I don't know, it's strange to me. It's very bizarre how everything turned out. Like, here I am, just having some banter and making fun of Harley TBS like everyone else fucking does, and then suddenly, like a year or two down the line, I am now like in a feud with someone with the moniker of Lyle the Boomer Groomer Convoy.
I remember when, back at March 3rd, I had that conversation. I believe Neo and a few people leaked it when I gave my permission for that, when they asked for that specifically. I remember I was talking to him about some stuff. I always thought it was weird. He never had an issue with Vlad, which is why like nothing happened with the Vlad stuff at the time. I was already prioritizing other shit to deal with, mostly IRL stuff. Like, we'll get into that in a minute because it is pretty funny in hindsight with all this shit. So like, when it comes down to all this crap, I thought it was very weird when they were talking, like, Lyle was trying to talk mad shit about you and Foxton so that I get rid of you guys from the server. And then right after, I talked to you guys more personally about what happened. And I was laughing my ass off because I thought it was nothing, Burger. Like you guys sent me more receipts than I ever gotten from their side about, like, the shit that was going on. And so I just didn't take that shit seriously. And it just moved on with my day because it just sounds like really petty gay shit. And then here we are. I guess I'm enemy number 1 because, Fox Mafia let people in that Lyle didn't like. That's kind of a vibe I'm sort of been getting for the last, like, so many months. It just boils down to, you're this and that too. I just don't like you.
Essentially, it's just that. It's just...
How dare you?
Yeah. How dare I? You're Grimskull. You're a big meanie. You're a meanie. How dare you not call him a they? Grimskull. You're gonna get muted. You're gonna be server muted. But no. But it's really telling with the behavior. The Streisand effect has been a fucking like sandpaper dildo in their rectum at this point in time. Like, it's really fucking with them that people bring up shit against them from the past, and they're perfectly comfortable doing this kind of tactic with everyone else. But don't do this with me. Don't do this with me. I am above your ridicule, Kaz, Grimskull, Foxton, Pooh, Fursky, Neo. Don't bring anything up about me.
Jesus. Well, I'll say it like this. I just think it's funny because there was a time where before I decided to fuck off and do my own thing, just do IRL shit, because I will admit a lot of my previous behavior during the drama was not the best, and it was largely because I was just interested in not dealing with shit. I would rather deal with IRL stuff before I came back and did anything, which was initially the plan before all this. The irony of it is, if probably Lyle gave it a couple extra months, Fox Mafia as a server would have been gone anyway. Let's be real, I got tired of a lot of the gay shit ever since the Yodi stuff happened. It just broke the camel's back for a lot of fucking people. So, like, so many goddamn people were spurging about everything. It's like it's like their minds were broken beyond repair ever since we did that Yodi stream, and we all mocked them. And so, like, I got to a point where I stopped giving a shit because I started to get this opinion, this epiphany before all this, that this was just going to end horribly. I've been around the block on the internet for a long time. I know when these internet communities are going to go into shitter. I know when where things are going to go. I guess in retrospect, I'm not surprised I was the target. Not just because of Yodi, just in general, because I've started to notice some concerning signs, and I called it out. and all of a sudden I'm like this enemy, this evil monster that needs to be taken down. So I don't know. It's just this whole pedo hunting bullshit has turned itself into the same shit. And I hate to bring this up, but I might as well because these people won't shut up about him. With Jim and Gamergate, you know what I mean? Like all these movements about something a bit more serious than just internet trolling, and then like it gets co-opted by a bunch of like whiny little faggots online, and it all turns into like this giant like hodgepodge of just like fucking clout chasing bullshit. And the next thing you notice, every motherfucker in the room is being called a pedo, a fucking zoo. People are getting doxxed. People are getting their families fucked with. People are having like the pictures of their dogs being used as PDFs and shit, and having mockery, or here's was roleplay chat being exposed, or oh God forbid, like you showed your penis to somebody once that's like a normal fucking person. We gotta talk about your personal life story. Like that's important.
So
never change internet, I guess.
So if he had if Lyle were watching right now, if he wasn't a massive fucking bitch of a pussy right now, what exactly would like to say to him right now? Just real quick, so I can also bring in some other callers too. I don't want to keep too many people waiting.
I apologize for taking too much time.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I will say a few things for Lyle here. First of all, I'll give you one thing. I guess thanks for the slander, because I was able to just move on from this and fix a lot of shit before coming back, which may be a possibility in the near future. Because I kind of needed that. I'm not gonna lie. My mod team was fucking retarded. I'm not gonna pretend like that isn't the case. My mod team was butt fucking retarded. I had to fix so much shit by myself, and then had to deal with people not willing to talk to me about what their fucking problem was. Like, it was just a disaster. Like, the worst you can say about my server wasn't me, or even, like, the mod staff as individuals. It's just shitty fucking mod staff team, you know? That was the biggest killer of the server. That was, like, the only thing going on that was really wrong with it. But, aside from that, I'm sure that's a rant I can talk about on my own shit sometime soon. I see it like this, Lio. You knew exactly what this was going to go. I knew that you were going to play this game eventually. Not because of the gilded shit. That did kind of take me a little bit by surprise, no. I knew you were going to pull this shit over Yodi. And I made it very fucking clear in my own way, to you, how this was going to go. Sure, you might be able to steamroll me in the short term. But guess what's going to happen in the long term? Exactly what's fucking happening now. And you know what's the fucked up part that really pisses me off? It's not the drama between me and you, because I really don't give a shit. I've been slandered to hell back 1,000 times over. I don't care. No, it's the fact that you gave all these pedos and zoos all the ammo they need to discredit both of us. So now, guess where all this pedo hunting on this specific sector is going to go? Fucking nowhere. It's a dead thing now. Because now you officially gave them everything they need to ruin all the years of work that me and you put into this shit. Because you couldn't let go that someone made fun of your fucking peaches. Jokes, by the way, I never made myself. And I wasn't going to censor people for making those jokes. Because it's the fucking internet. So, give yourself a pat in the back. You did more work to favor someone like Sappho or Zerkalo than anyone has ever done. So, enjoy where this is going to go. Because as far as I'm concerned, this whole pedo hunting thing is fucked beyond repair. And you're to blame for it, Mr. Hero, Mr. Batman. Enjoy where that's going. Anyway, apologies for the long autistic rant. I'm sure I'm done. You can have the revolving door commence. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good night, Kaz. Peace out.
Yeah, you too, man.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut him off right there. Yes, you too, man.
Hopefully next time, when I cover drama like this, I will only cover things that have already been established and nothing else until all of them are verified in the timeline where it's actually verified too. And yes, I'm no longer going to have to try and premiere drama compilations that are outside of the roast game or any proof compilations surrounding the roast game in the post-roast game era. I'm just gonna be careful when it comes to living topics. That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, I'm just moving on to the moving on segment with a series ending rant segment at the end. So, yeah, that's the video and the end of the very first consecutive response series I have ever made, folks. I am moving on from this response series specifically, but anything else that happens will be covered by other people until it's all in part 2 of the Predator Hunter Civil War drama compilation in April of 2024. Because I have to take drama much more seriously now, thanks to advice from Fox Azor, as I've said before. That, and I have taken into consideration the damage and borderline life ruination false accusations like these causes for people like Mongrel. So, October will hopefully be the first post-drama and non-drama related month for me this year when it comes to content on the internet. Sure, I will watch what goes on from here on out in the background, but I've done my job here. Not perfectly though, but somehow decent enough. LioConvoy, if you're actually fucking watching this or not, don't just leave the internet and come back as someone else or someone new as if you somehow had a second chance or have changed and you would never do shit like this again. Because again, this whole predator hunting hobby shit is deeply embedded in your brain and your character and your ego and then your reputation. Never come back to the internet ever again. I don't care what your motives are for any more of your idiotic, pedantic, and erroneous cope streams. I am done talking about you, the Senate, and any other fucking spurg on your side or on Kaz's side. And I am most certainly done talking about predator hunters in general and just want to talk about something else for a change. Doing all of this for almost a year now when it comes to covering predator hunting in general on the internet or real life being shit and a hobby instead of an actual job, unless if you're a private detective or a police officer, has been emotionally draining for me and has me feel vindicated every time shit I point out and call out happens or has happened before and is now coming to light. I will continue feeling vindicated. It doesn't matter though. Channels like mine, if they're allowed to live longer at all, are only there to die and nothing more because of drama like this. Thank you for watching this whole drama response series. I'm fucking done. I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. Goodbye to you all.